Amongst the Republican models, the one that has just got 73 votes is clearly preferred. Now, when you bind those two together, it would be a travesty in common sense terms of Australian democracy for that proposition not to be put to the Australian people.
This was the best republic that the best brains of the Republican movement could come up with, and it could only get 45% support. And that is a credit to the healthy scepticism of the Australian people when faced with change for change's sake and a dud model republic.
My second question relates to the role of the media. And I think that perhaps the best comment on the media came from Lord Deeds, a distinguished British editor and minister, who said that in the London Telegraph, "I've rarely attended elections in any country, certainly not a democratic one, in which the newspapers have displayed more shameless bias. One and all, they determined that Australians should have a republic, and they used every device towards that end." That's certainly my recollection, and I do remember that they even let it continue after the results. You held a small function at your home at Kirribilli House, at your own cost, just drinks for those who were involved in the campaign. I remember that they harassed that event and they found it extraordinary. They tried to draw all sorts of funny conclusions.
Yeah, I remember that. There's no doubt the media was 100%, with the exception of a number of influential talkback radio hosts such as Alan Jones and others. The media appeared united in its determination. You know, the ABC, Fairfax, the News Limited papers, they seem quite united in their determination to bring about a republic. It backfired. The old Australian Celtic suspicion, I call it, asserted itself. The more they sang in unison, the more the average Australian thought there must be something odd about this. They all agree that we should change, so maybe it's not a good idea to change. I think it was overdone, the partisanship of the media, but they had a right to do it. And I was determined, because I'd only been Prime Minister for a few years, I was determined not to let that bother me. Once the referendum was over, then normal communications were restored, and we got on with the job of continuing to talk to the Australian people through the media.
If I may add on this, I think you were very successful in reaching over the media and speaking directly to the Australian people in the technology of the time. President Trump uses the technology of today, but you used it by going to your readily available on talkback and breakfast television, which you can't edit when you're speaking.
No, you have identified a very relevant fact. I use talkback radio an enormous amount, far more than any Prime Minister before or since me. And I did it for the reason you've identified, and that is that it's a way of talking directly to people. It can't be edited. And morning television can't be edited. You go on a radio program such as Neil Mitchell's program on 3AW in Melbourne, which is an excellent program, and I would have an audience of probably 500,000 between 8:30 and 9 o'clock every second Friday into the Victorian audience, particularly into Melbourne. And even if people only listened for a minute or two, they heard you uninterrupted. And I could actually expand on an argument. And it surprised me that more people at the time didn't do that. And I found this a completely authentic, time-consuming, but completely authentic way of talking directly to people.